Welcome to SandCity Sports. I'm your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King, and we're back again to bring you all the sports and current events news stories that you need to know. Once again, we are very pleased and happy to be joined by Mr. Drew Pops. Drew Popolo is in the building, and as we are in the City of Champions, and we do have a championship game tonight in Boston, we're going to get right into the Bruins coverage. So Zdeno Chara and Matt Grzelcyk have been listed as probable for crucial Game 5, even though Chara is said to have suffered a broken jaw and Grzelcyk is coming back from a concussion. Drew, how do you feel about Game 5 overall, and particularly with these two Warriors possibly being able to suit up?
Coming back to Boston, I feel great. That's where you want to, home fan-wise, that's where you want to play. I think that Chara's toughness, he's playing with a broken jaw, is going to, I don't know, rally that whole team. That's going to be the little edge that they need. They're going to come out with that grit, and they're going to win 5-3. That's what I have to say.
Okay, you got it at 5-3. For me, I'm also favoring the Bruins to win this game. Nonetheless, this was a series that was supposed to be one-sided. The Bruins came in overwhelming favorite after the Tampa Bay Lightning went down, and the St. Louis Blues have mucked it up. We have ourselves now, in my view, a back alley brawl. Okay,
Yeah.
When you look at Zdeno Chara, now again, we're not two hockey people, but I heard he's 6'8".
He is very large.
I heard he's a big man. Okay, and so for them to take him down, for him to go down, and again, you don't look for people to get hurt in any sense of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the physicality of this series, and the Bruins captain, their leader, their dominant physical presence being out. Again, coming back to Boston, being here in Titletown, I do favor the Bruins, but I'm concerned. I got to say I'm a little bit concerned. And I think this game could be close. I don't necessarily see it being a 2-goal lead. I'm leaning more 3-2, or even a 2-1 type of a battle, based off the fact that a couple of these games have gone to OT.
Yeah.
A couple of these games, and particularly the Blues, showed me something by winning Game 2 here in Boston. I believe that was in overtime, and really saying that, contrary to what you might have heard, we're not pushovers. This isn't, and in the NHL, in the playoffs, anything can happen, and we're here to stay. So I feel good about the Bruins being back in Boston, but I'm not confident this will be a runaway game. I think this could be, a very physical, battle it out, type of affair. And after what we saw happen last night in Golden State, with a very talented team missing key players.
Yeah.
Somebody that had that championship medal, but nonetheless lost by double digits. So I'm staying with the Bruins. I can see the local fans getting upset with me right now through the camera. I can see that. Okay, I'm not going away from the home team. I'm supporting the Bruins at home in Game 5. I'm just saying it's going to be a 1-goal game, and it could go to OT, and they're going to need all of the New England faithful.
Best fans around.
The best fans around. We have one of the best fans around here in the studio. Okay, we're very happy to have Drew Pop, in many instances, you would be in the building.
Yeah, I mean,
if this is the Celtics.
This is the Celtics, I'm there.
If this is the Celtics, we would have to get a guest commentator, because you would definitely be there.
For sure.
And I'm thinking that the team needs all of the super fans that it can muster for this affair.
It'll be wild.
Yes.
It'll be crazy.
Yeah, the Garden should be rocking, and I think that. Again, I'm going to have to go to my hockey people. I'm not even sure how many people is on the ice. We got 7, maybe 8. We're gonna get back to that. Okay, it's gonna come up. In the editing. We will have a final answer on that. But however many, they're gonna need that +1.
They'll have it. They'll have it.
Which is the Bruins faithful.
I think that those two boys. I mean, Chara was only out for like a half a game or whatever, but Grzelcyk being out, that's gonna. I don't remember the player's name that got suspended for that horrible hit on him. That was terrible.
Indeed.
But when he came back, they were, they looked pretty good. They won that game. Yeah. So maybe we get a guy back. We win the game. I don't know.
That's true. That's true with him coming back. I think he's been out since Game 2.
Yeah.
So he is.
So maybe that'll be the little boost they need. The Chara toughness, playing with a broken jaw. He'll come in, kill some penalties. Maybe that's all you need.
It's unbelievable. And we've mentioned it on the show, the beauty that you really see in sports, when, again, because all these contests are certainly games of skill, but it reaches a certain point where it definitely becomes a battle of will.
Especially in hockey.
And in hockey, unlike any other sport, I mean, these guys are tough. And it's inspiring, somebody that doesn't play, but as just somebody who loves sports, that just resonates immediately, and that's what you're seeing. I mean, because listen, the man Chara, his jaw is wired shut.
Yeah, and he's playing a hockey game. You think they're not going to be like absolutely smashing into him every chance they get? He's a tough bastard.
Yeah, in basketball, a guy breaks his nose, they put the mask on. Rip Hamilton wore that for many years, as we remember. But basketball is a freedom of movement sport.
Yeah, they're two completely. There's some similarities, but so different in terms of toughness and grit. It's crazy.
Hockey much more mirrors football in being a collision sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, there's
no pads in basketball.
Yes, exactly. And so Chara coming back with a jaw that's wired shut. You talk to. You listen to some of these hockey veterans talk, and this is something that's not necessarily unique, in the sport of hockey. I'm listening to EEI, and commentators are calling in and saying, I've played, with a broken jaw. They wire it so, my mouth is not completely closed. I have a little bit of, space, because again, if it's wired shut, then you have to breathe exclusively through. So you got to have your mouth open a little bit, but, it's still a broken jaw. It affects your breathing, which obviously is going to affect your stamina. It's not
a young man either.
Yes. And for him to say, this is a Stanley Cup, I'm the captain, and I'm going to do everything that I can, to be out there for this very crucial must-win game. Because again, Game 5, winner of that, is only one win away.
Pivotal game.
And if the Bruins at home, you don't want to necessarily go on the road down 3-2. Now you're really putting yourself, if not completely behind the 8 ball, a good amount behind the 8 ball. So I think
it's huge.
Chara recognizes that, so he's doing everything possible to be out there tonight. And again, I'm favoring the home team. Think they're going to get it done. But nonetheless, this is something that comes up to mind. Would there be any wisdom in if Chara cannot guarantee he'd be 100%? Because again, this is just one game removed. Would there be wisdom in him deciding to sit out Game 5 so that he could definitely play in a Game 6 situation?
I think that if you have a broken jaw, it's not going to heal in time for.
Indeed.
It's going to be broken for the remainder of
for the duration.
Whatever. So he's saying, if I'm not going to play this game, why would I play the next game or the next game?
That's an outstanding point.
He's hopping in there. He probably won't play that much, but he'll come in penalty kill, whatever. Yes. He'll do his job. Just be that gritty, gigantic. He's the captain.
Yes. Great point. Jaw's not healing. Any fat, it's going to be broken for a time. So, 2-3 days doesn't make, whatever he can give. Agreed. So we both have the Bruins winning. Next quick point on this. Do you see the series going 7?
I think that they win tonight, and then they're, just like you said, the team that wins tonight is only one away. I think they go into St. Louis, and they take it there, just like the Red Sox did in L.A.
Yeah.
They're going to put them up against the wall, and they're going to get it done. Bruins in 6.
Bruins in 6. Okay. For me, I like that. I'm gonna take the opposite approach. I think the series is gonna go 7. I still have the Bruins in 7. I like that confidence. We're gonna get to this, but Mr. Draymond Green was quite confident last night after the Golden State Warriors went down.
When is he not?
When is he not confident? But his opinion is, even though they're down 2-1, he sees the Warriors in 6. So for he says the Warriors are gonna win 6 straight games. I don't know if first of all, I don't have that confidence, that Draymond confidence in a lot of things, and particularly in that NBA Finals series. Point of fact there. But also in terms of the Stanley Cup championship, the Blues have shown me something. Just in terms of recognizing that they're not going away. They're battle tested, and so I think the Bruins will win this series. But I think it's going 7. I think I got the Bruins tonight. I think St. Louis goes back home. The desperation kicks in, and they squeak that one out. But I think coming back to Boston in Game 7, the 15th round, of a championship bout.
Yeah.
You know, you got an Ali Frazier type of an affair. You know,
Only time
I
will
don't think Ali Holmes certainly didn't go 15, but and Ali Foreman might have gone 14 or 15, but it's going to 15. You get what I'm saying with this, and I'm picking the Bruins to get the job done in 7. Now, moving over to the Boston Celtics, Mr. Danny Ainge had a postseason interview. Danny Ainge, aka Trader Danny, and he says he has no regrets about the Kyrie Irving trade. To quote, he says, "There's always risk in making deals, and we're not afraid of risk. We made a risk by trading for Kyrie, and no matter what happens with Kyrie, I'll never regret that. You just move on to the next deal." How do you feel about those sentiments from the Celtics general manager?
Absolutely 100% agree.
Okay, yeah.
You got a superstar caliber player for a bunch of bench players and prospects that, I mean, you got Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas, who probably will never play a meaningful game again. Love Isaiah Thomas, but
True.
he looks like he's pretty damaged goods, and Danny Ainge knew that when he was trading him, which was genius.
Danny Ainge alone knew that.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what they know, but he knew. They give up Crowder, who, I mean, I like Crowder, but he's not anything special. And they gave up, yeah, he's replaceable. And they gave up, a pick that is kind of valuable, whatever. And what's his name? The big, tall center that we had, who's not.
Zaric or
Something like that.
Yeah,
Zizic. Ante Zizic.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be all right, but all of that was, maybe it didn't work out with Kyrie, but you got a bona fide baller
You did.
for literally a pile of peanuts. Nothing that in that trade was more than like a C+. And you got an A+ player. It didn't work out. We don't even know if he's going to be back or not. Maybe it will work out. But regardless, just getting him for those players, absolutely one of the best deals in the last 10 years, I think.
Agreed. And you're not in the conversation, unless you're in the conversation. The Celtics would have not been a championship contender, in some analysis, a championship favorite going into this year. And the last 2 years, really, had they not had the terrible injury in Game 1 of the 2018 season without Kyrie Irving. So that deal, even though right now, there's a lot of saltiness, in Beantown and New England in general because of how this season ended. And again, I'm one of Kyrie Irving's foremost detractors just based on, his attitude and his leadership this year. Nonetheless, in terms of, what he can do as a ball player, number 1 overall pick, and he's proved that every day since he's been in the league. He's, a motivated Kyrie Irving could be a top 10 player in this league, no question. And so, Dan, having him in Boston and him being a central part of, Celtics and them being in the championship conversation, I agree 100% with Danny Ainge, and I think what we're seeing with the Toronto Raptors validates that contention 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's no guarantee that Kawhi Leonard will be back in Toronto next year, but I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody cares about that right now. Okay, with them being up 2-1 in the NBA Finals, okay, and it's all gravy. Irregardless, frankly, if Kawhi decides to leave next year or not, them getting to the finals, them making a competitive finals, and they go ahead and win this championship, which is very much in the realm of possibility, and we're going to get to that. I mean, you might as well just elect Masai Ujiri Prime Minister of Canada. Just have the election right now and get it over with. Okay, he can run for it's already done. And he had to pull the trigger on a very risky deal at the time. A lot of people were hurt. A lot of people were angry. Some people are still angry under the surface. Kyle Lowry didn't talk to him for months. It was rumored because DeMar DeRozan was his homeboy. But I think he's gotten over that. I think Kyle Lowry. I think he's feeling. We'll discuss that more.
Winning helps.
Yeah, winning does help. So Danny Ainge put the Celtics right there.
Great
in the
trade.
catbird seat. To do a lot of that same winning with the deal. So I agree 100%. That is certainly not regrettable, and he made the right move. Continuing on, and in looking at the postseason perspective, Danny Ainge, again, being the shrewd guy that he is, he's trying to deflect a lot of, how shall we say, the hateration that is out there for Kyrie Irving, coming from people like myself. Danny Ainge is trying to deflect away from that very wisely. And he had this to say. He said, the first thing I would say about the whole Kyrie Irving thing is it's unfortunate that one person gets credit or blame for a team's failure. We have a lot of reasons the team did not succeed this year. Kyrie deserves his share of the blame, but not any more than anybody else. There's a lot of guys that didn't handle things the right way and didn't make sacrifices that need to be done for the benefit of the team. So I think that they're all going to learn from it, including Kyrie. He's still a young player, and I think Kyrie is going to come back even better next year. We're going to start off. Do you agree with those sentiments about Kyrie Irving, that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, Danny Ainge is smart the way he talks to the media, and he doesn't really like to give too much away, but he just tells it like it is. But I think that he said what we've all been saying, you know, Kyrie doesn't deserve all the blame. I'm not going to give Kyrie all the blame. His antics definitely didn't help, but that's such a GM thing to say.
Indeed.
I mean, he said it right. He didn't throw anybody under the bus, but he said that, yeah, he is to blame, but he's taking equal amount of blame as everybody else. I think that he's to blame as much as Brad Stevens is to blame, as Kyrie is to blame. They lost. They're all to blame.
True. What I learned in youth sports, and it carries on till today, is that you win as a team and you lose as a team.
Yep.
Okay, and so Danny Ainge is certainly echoing that very true axiom. But I love the way that he's shifting the narrative and maybe resetting the goalpost, if you will, because it's also, as I learned, in the great movie The Departed, heavy weighs the crown on the head of the king. That's what I learned, among other things, from that award-winning movie.
Great film.
Kyrie Irving, being the guy, being the star, wanting his own team, wanting to be that alpha, well, then you're going to get a lion's share, of the credit when things go well. Just checking with Tom Brady about that. And you're also going to get a lion's share of the blame if things don't go well.
Yeah.
So, for me, that's how I see it. And therefore, this season being a notable disappointment in many ways, that I place, a disproportion. Brad Stevens is in this conversation as well. But those are my two head honchos.
Yeah, for sure.
And you want a third musketeer, you can throw Danny Ainge in there. In terms of the vacuum of leadership, that none of those three, were able to fill, in a way similar to our friend, down, in the Lone Star State, Mr. Greg Popovich. That's a captain, a lieutenant, a general, a leader. That if he's going to go down, he's going to go down like the Spartans did in 300.
Yeah.
Okay, all for one and one for all.
Yep.
There's not going to be, the disunity, the confusion, the bickering. He's going to, just like Bill Belichick, find those Spartan warriors, that are willing to run through any and every single wall, and that's who he's going to go to battle with, and that's how they're going to win and lose, irregardless. And I was hoping, for a little bit more of that leadership with our, because all these guys have experience just like Greg Popovich. Even though Pop, he has the the smooth, we definitely appreciate, the bearded, style look. He got the, the gray beard now, and he's, he's been in the league, for well over 20 years. But Danny Ainge is no spring chicken either.
Right.
And Brad Stevens has been in the game as well, and Kyrie Irving is a veteran also. So I don't understand, why, with that experience, they couldn't evidence, some of those same leadership qualities. And that's why, frankly, I was, disappointed, deeply. It's one thing if you have a new look team like what's going on in New Orleans right now, where you're trying to build something from the ground up.
Yeah.
New general manager, new, up and coming player. That's, I'm going to give them a little bit more slack. But the Celtics had people that have, have been around.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Stevens, he's still a young coach. He's still, as great a coach he is, he's still young. He's still trying to figure out the NBA landscape. Kyrie, like Danny Ainge said in that quote, he's still a young player. So, I mean, Popovich, he's like the guru. He's been around forever. He's got that experience. He knows what's going on. But these guys are still young. Maybe, they're still trying to figure it out. I guess we'll have to wait till next year.
Yeah. Also, with this, what was brought up in the interview, and we have to recognize, as we do, all of us, we love our sports, and we get quite hype about it, which we're going to touch on again, moving on. But Danny Ainge did have a mild heart attack.
Yeah, seriously. During that series, I think we all did, but he had a real one.
Yeah, and so what was brought up in the interview during the press coverage, is that he's healthy. he's well. That's the number one thing.
I feel great. Yeah, I feel good. It's an exciting time of year.
Obviously, a lot of people are, concerned about the Celtics, but also concerned about you and your health. And have you had to change or modify anything you normally do since the heart attack?
Yeah, I mean, I'm eating more plants. And not the kind of plants in Walton's garden, by the way. But eating more plants nonetheless. But I think, I have a great bench here too. Like, we have a great staff, and Mike and Austin and Dave, and right on down the list, Remy and Jake, and everybody that's, they're very capable of filling in when I needed to step away there for a little while, but haven't had to miss much work.
Have they, do you have to have a lifestyle change?
No. I mean, I just need to eat better and exercise more and get skinnier. All those things.
And it just kind of puts in a perspective. We get hype, we get animated, we get fired up. But at the end of the day, sports is not the number one thing overall.
That's true.
It's not, and you can see, for as much, talk and agitation and aggravation and all the stuff that goes into it, it's not really that important. And point of fact, my point is that Danny was experiencing a lot of this, more than he let on. This, as much as it affected us, the fans, and we didn't hear a lot from Danny during the regular season, and that was one of my main problems. Is where is him? Are you being out front in a lot of these issues that are going on? He was mostly behind the scenes. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Mostly behind the scenes during this year, but when somebody has to take a step away like that, same thing was true with Tyronn Lue during that last run in Cleveland.
Yep.
He had to leave the team.
Yep.
And so you get a glimpse, into how much this weighs on people, and it really, Urban Meyer's another example, having to. So we're happy that Danny is back. He's healthy, and he's looking forward positively. That is the most important thing. Staying with Kyrie, many reports have the Brooklyn Nets as the favorite to land Kyrie Irving. And Drew, we were just talking, interestingly enough, quite a coincidence, the Nets made a move today and cleared up $46 million in cap space for next year. What are your thoughts on that?
So they made this trade today. It was Alan Crabb, who's he's whatever. He's all right.
Good player, good role player.
He's a good role player. He's nothing special. And the 17th pick this year and a protected 2020 pick next year over to Atlanta. They get Taurean Prince and they get a second-round pick in 2021. But I like Taurean Prince. He's a good young prospect, whatever. But the biggest part about that is that it clears up. Now they have $46 million in cap space, which is crazy. I don't think that trade changes that much. It definitely makes it seem like they're going after him, but it doesn't mean that they're going to get him. If they're the favorite, we'll see. I think the only person that really knows where Kyrie's going is Kyrie.
True.
Stephen A. Smith is saying he's probably going to Brooklyn, which means that he's probably not going to Brooklyn because everything Stephen A. Smith says is bonkers. I love Stephen A. Smith, but he's wrong about a lot of things he says.
I don't know if he shoots 500, but he might be less.
He's close. But I don't know. It's going to be. I think that he's the only one who truly knows what he's going to do. He's so crazy in he sent out that weird cryptic Instagram message that made no sense. I don't know. We're going to see. It's going to be exciting for sure. Yeah,
many of the reports out of Kyrie's circle is very small, and might only really include two people, him and his dad. Yeah. And so I agree with you that another interesting storyline I heard on this is that, this is the Celtics owner actually put out there, is that a lot of these leaks, and breaking storylines are just agents putting out disinformation to improve their clients' leverage.
Yeah, and it's all clickbait. It's all clickbait.
True. So those two things combined, he's serious or he's leaning towards.
I don't know any.
Last week it was the Lakers.
It's the new thing every week. It's just like this happens every single year. Everyone speculates there's a new story about where they're going to go this day, the next day. You just got to wait to see how it all plays out.
Agree, and so I think those two things are definitely in the mix. But what comes out to me with this storyline, because I don't think the Brooklyn Nets were a favorite to land anybody during the regular season, and we have to give a shout out to that outstanding organization with Sean Marks as the general manager, their coach. Atkinson had a great season.
I like Brooklyn.
Here on the Cape, we have to give a shout out also to Mr. Sean Fine, a Barnstable graduate, class of '96, played at Georgia Tech, then went over to have a great career in France. He also works in the Nets with the Nets player development. Okay, so shout out to Sean Fine, and shout out to a great organization that's doing it the right way and building, again, like we said, from the ground up. And the fact of the matter, what sticks out to me with this narrative is, I thought the New York Knicks were the big dogs in the tri-state area. That's what I thought. I thought the Knicks were the big dogs.
That's what all Knicks fans say, but there hasn't been nothing in the last decade.
I thought if you're gonna go to the tri-state, I thought if you're gonna go to the Empire State, to play sports, you want to go to play for the Knicks. Like if you want to play baseball, in the Big Apple, I thought you want to play for the Yankees.
Times are changing.
Even though I'm a lifelong Mets fan, okay. Shout out to my man Drew Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. That's my childhood right there. A big shout out to them. But at the same time, I'm interested now that the Knicks, this major market, New York City, even though they haven't won a NBA championship in well over 30 years, well over 40 years.
They're not sniffing.
It's coming up on 50 years. That 73 championship. Have to give a quick shout out to Mr. Angel Robinson, who's helping us produce the show. Also want to give a shout out to Amar. We appreciate them very much. But Angel and I, we always talk. He's a native New Yorker. He's from Soundview in the Bronx. Okay, and the New Yorkers, led by Mr. Spike Lee, they haven't sniffed the championship. Okay, in well over 40 years. Okay, point of fact is, what we're seeing in the NBA is players are not impressed with these big market teams. Madison Square Garden. They're impressed by organizations.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Brooklyn Nets are saying, even though, we just made the move from Jersey a couple years back and we don't have the history and tradition, our organization is functional, okay? And that's what players respect, okay? That's why in these free agent conversations that are going on right now, the Lakers are losing serious ground, even though they're the Lakers.
Yeah.
The Anthony Davises of the world, the Kevin Durant's of the world, the Kawhi Leonard's of the world, the Clay Davis. Shout out to Clay Davis in the wire.
Yeah,
I get going. Klay Thompson, we hope he's back for game 4. I thought he was going to be at every game 3. We're going to get to that. They're not impressed, okay? So that's something for me.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like the NBA landscape is definitely changing a little bit. You got, Toronto's in the finals. They're not that big a market team.
Toronto,
And then also Milwaukee. Milwaukee being, the top team in the East all year. They're a minuscule market.
Exactly.
But you have Giannis saying, I want to stay here forever. He doesn't care about the market size, this and that. Times are changing and people don't really care. Players don't care that much about market size, this and that. There's so many ways to make money in this day and age that they'll make money here, there, wherever. They want to win. The more you win, the more money you're going to make.
Indeed. So that, I like to see that, and the Nets, moving up. It's really the NBA, and it's a meritocracy, and I think a lot of times, the great point that was made, Mr. Kendrick Perkins, doing his commentary, on many of the great shows on ESPN and Fox. He said, listen, one of the biggest problems, with NBA teams, a lot of times people, they want to hire their friends.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to hire the people that you know. My homies, and instead of hiring the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And the teams that are hiring the best people are the teams that are getting the results. And so that's great to see. And so we're gonna keep it moving to the next point. Actually, I think we're gonna. Yes, and so we're gonna make the quick switch. We're gonna head from Brooklyn. Actually, we're gonna stay in Brooklyn. Because Mr. Sean Carter is a big part of this next storyline. But we're going to look at the NBA Finals. Sean Carter was in the building. Shout out to Jay-Z. Just became the first hip-hop entertainer whose net worth exceeds $1 billion. Okay? And so there's been a number of things said about that. But on this show, we want to make it clear that we're very proud, okay, of that landmark achievement. And there's been some things on both sides of the aisle, but we're very proud of Jay-Z. He was in the building for Game 3 of the NBA Finals, and we had a little bit of a shocker as the Toronto Raptors defeated the Golden State Warriors 123-109 to take a 2-1 lead in the series. Drew Pops, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty wild. Have the Raptors not lost an away game all playoffs? Is that a
They
true
went
stat?
actually. They went down 0-2 against Milwaukee on the road,
Okay.
and then won 4 straight. So they've been
So
back
they haven't lost any in the NBA Finals.
in the NBA Finals.
So
No,
that's
no.
good.
Yes.
I think that I hate to say that I agree with Draymond Green, but I have Warriors in 6.
Oh, okay.
But-
4 straight.
But I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I think that this is what the NBA needed. This has been a great series. Everyone
True,
wants the
true.
Warriors to lose.
Yep.
I want the Warriors to lose because I'm sick of seeing them win.
Okay.
But the Raptors are doing something that's pretty crazy. I think they threw all their cards on the table last night knowing that Clay and KD were out.
Indeed.
They played all their players. They only had 7 players score in the whole game, which is pretty wild.
All right.
And they played a majority of those 7 players that scored for large minutes. I think
True.
Lowry played 43.
Yep.
They were all playing high minutes. I think they knew, all right, if we're going to take a game, especially in Golden State,
Yep.
this is the one.
wanna get it.
They put all their boys out there. Very little breaks for them, very
Yep.
little rest. So I think that Golden State definitely comes out and wins the next one just based off of they can't drop 2 at home.
Okay, Drew, just quickly, Kevin Durant is out for
Yep.
Game 4.
But Clay is supposed to play.
He will not be suiting up. Just let.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm taking the Warriors, Clay being back, and Kevon Looney being back. I think will
Possibly
be
coming back.
Possibly.
Yep.
I think that'll be enough to get them a win at home. But I mean, the Raptors clearly can get it done on the road in Oracle, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know. I think when you start to count the Warriors out is when they start to just rub it right back in your face, you know.
Okay, so I hear you. For me, this reminds me of a great 30 for 30. Mostly they're all great. Let's just put that out there. Outstanding series.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of 30 for 30, Larry and Muhammad. Larry and Muhammad, and it looks at the Ali-Larry Holmes fight very late in Ali's career that turned out to be a decidedly one-sided affair. Holmes destroyed Ali, and the narrative in retrospect was Ali should have never been in the ring to start with. Shouldn't have taken that fight. Okay, Holmes was the younger man. He's at the pinnacle of his, and Ali was well over the hill. Now, I feel the same way about this Golden State series. I'm leaning towards Toronto in Game 4. I'm glad Draymond is confident. Draymond has a lot of Ali-like tendencies, and the confidence and the braggadocio, and that's all good and well. But I don't. His team, his unit, this dynasty is on crutches, 2 sets of crutches, and I'm not. And people just. The Toronto Raptors are for real. So before we even get into the Toronto Raptors, let's just talk about Golden State Warriors. DeMarcus Cousins did not have a good Game 3.
No.
They didn't have a good Game 3, okay? And that's probably because, okay, he's a big man, well over 280 pounds, and he has a torn quad,
Yeah.
okay?
But
You
Game
can't-
3 or Game 2.
Yeah, Game 2, that's great. You can have, one, when you're playing injured, when you're not 100%, and never mind if you're not 100%, but you're injury prone. DeMarcus Cousins is injury prone, okay? You cannot lean on somebody in that condition, in an all or nothing NBA Finals, World Championship type of a scenario. You can't do it. Okay, his name is DeMarcus Cousins on paper, but on the court he's not the same DeMarcus Cousins. Let's go down the list. I am flabbergasted, okay, and I'm saying it right now, and I'm not backing off of it. Okay, I think this has free agent and legacy implications. I am stunned that Kevin Durant is out for Game 4. Okay, stunned. Okay, as far as I know, this is a calf strain, grade 1. Okay, every time you sprain your ankle or whatever, some of the ligaments tear to a certain extent, that. So anytime it's a sprain, you could say it's a tear, but it's a grade 1 calf sprain or strain or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and for him to be out this long, for somebody who is not injury prone in his career, for somebody who loves basketball, I'm saying it and I'm not backing down. Okay, this has to do with Kevin Durant's legacy. Okay, this has to do with everyone saying that, he jumped onto a championship team, because if you can't beat him, join him, which is absolute nonsense, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. Okay, that's not why Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. Kevin Durant went to the Warriors because of the culture. Okay, not the championships. Culture. You notice that he's in the hallway every time the team comes out, patting them on the back, congratulating them, that we over me attitude. Borrowed that from the Rise Above, one of the AAU programs. Appreciate them. Okay. Also, shout out to the Cape Cod Warriors, all the AAU programs doing their thing. Okay. But it's we over me. You have Andre Iguodala in the press conference talking about, I'm holding on, I'm playing hurt. Why are you doing that, Andre? It's a pretty cool name, by the way. Not a bad name.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Okay. He's doing that because Steph Curry's a good dude. He said, I want to protect Steph's legacy. That's at the height, of why, I'm battling through, okay? It's the culture in Golden State that, yes, Steph Curry created it, but that's what Kevin Durant, and by the way, Boogie Cousins, and by the way, a lot of other people want to be a part of. Okay, nonetheless, in the scope of history, Kevin Durant is taking these hits because people, he jumped onto a team that won 73 wins. These championships are not valid. I think that is the overriding factor in him. This is crazy to me. If he was in Oklahoma City, Kevin Durant would have played 5. He would be out there. He would be out there. I think that because of this whole Golden State narrative, I'm stunned that he's not playing. And I've taken some time, But so you have a hobbled Boogie, a hobbled Kevin Durant. I've given you all my thoughts on that. And now Clay, who said the same thing, that he wants to be out there, but this hamstring injury is so serious that he can't be out there. Okay, we had a similar situation last year with the Rockets. And Chris Paul not being able to play Game 6 and Game 7. And people like me and some others think that's what cost Houston that series. Okay, now Houston's getting ready to blow it up because of some other things that are going on.
I'm rocking my retro Yao Ming
jersey shout out, you got the Rockets, and the retro, styling out here, okay, and profiling. But Klay Thompson said he was going to be out there for Game 3, and he wasn't out there. So this is a significant hamstring injury.
I think that, I don't know, Kevin Durant, he's got that junkyard dog in him. I think if he could be out there, that he would want to be out there. He's got those tiny toothpick legs. Maybe it's just like, maybe he's just not ready, and that injury affects him differently than other players. I just can't see him being healthy enough and not wanting to be out there. You see him in the locker room, you see him in the back tunnel, you see him, he's shouting things at Drake, which is hilarious.
True.
But I just think that he's got that killer winning mentality. He wants to win. I just can't see. I think he's hurt, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I don't know.
It's a conspiratorial.
It's a bold take, but I like it.
But that's it's. I cannot. But the point of fact is, going back to my Larry and Muhammad parallel. The Golden State Warriors, yes, they're the dynasty, but this is not the same Golden State Warriors that we associate with dynasty. They are extremely banged up, okay? Point A. Point B, folks, the Toronto Raptors are real. We talked about Spicy P previously on this program, and you tuned in for Game 1. You saw the man is the real deal, okay? You got Kawhi. Again, it's interesting with his injury background. It's a people are not sure. Is it a quad? Is it a knee? The diagnosis. We don't get a firm diagnosis in terms of what it is, but you can tell the man is clearly not 100%.
No, but still, he's just.
But playing at a extremely high level. He gave him 30 last night. Okay, and then you have other guys with so much to prove that are hungry for it. So sometimes we forget when we talk about these dynasties. What a dynasty means, Drew, is that one team is doing all the winning, and everybody else ain't doing no winning.
Yeah.
That's what we forget sometimes. A dynasty, it's unbelievable, and all the praise and all the. What you forget is you have a lot of other people that's getting 0 championships.
Yeah.
Okay?
Pretty much
and so,
everyone else.
Yeah, and so what that creates is an unbelievable demand, and a desire and a will and a passion and a determination, to get it done. And that's what you're seeing with the Toronto Raptors team. You got guys like DeMarcus Gasol, like this might be my only chance.
Yeah, for real.
To get one.
He's not getting any younger. Daddy Van Fleet has a kid.
Exactly.
And now he's just making the craziest threes all over the floor. Good for him. Good for all of them. They're firing on all cylinders, but there's going to be a whole nother game. What, tomorrow? The next day?
Tomorrow, yep.
There's going to be a whole nother game, and things could change just like that.
True. But it's for me, and I agree with you 100%. The plus minuses, I'm looking at the plus, it was crazy. Spicy Plays plus minus was like 22.
That's
Kawhi's, it seemed like, and they did go 7 deep. They did,
you're not going to be able to do that. You can't have 7 players score in an entire game. They're not going to be able to do that again. They're going to have to come with some sort of different, they're going to come with a completely different game plan, whatever, but it's just going to be, they're going to have to hit that bench a little harder, and that could factor into a Golden State win. Maybe it could factor into non-Golden State's favor.
Sure. Again, for me, in the way I see things, because I believe in a short rotation, so 7-man rotation, that doesn't bother me. And, other coaches have had this. I feel like when you get to this point, and obviously athletes, you want to play. With all the TV timeouts and the breaks, guys have time to rest. Allen Iverson, among others, LeBron James, you guys, once I start playing, I want to play. And that was my major criticism of the Celtics. I don't think Brad Stevens understood that. So the long minutes don't necessarily concern me. The fact that guys are showing their true grit and character. Shout out to Kyle Lowry, for balling out. People said he wasn't made for prime time. Shout out to Danny Green, same thing. I mean, guys who, you didn't realize had the experience and the championship medal, the experience with Kyle Lowry, the championship experience with Danny Green, are stepping up. And that's what happens in these championships. You see there's unexpected things that are going to happen. And the unexpected things that are happening all seem to favor the Toronto Raptors. And so that's why this game 4 fascinating, because it is a must-win game for the Warriors. I have 0%. It might even be -5 of Draymond Green's confidence. And Draymond can be out there, in the press, and I love Draymond. Draymond, his swagger, you need somebody like that, in terms of what a guy like Dennis Rodman did for those bad boy Piston teams, what a guy like that, what Dennis Rodman did for those Chicago Bulls teams. You need that guy that's gonna muck it up, that's an all-everything player, and Draymond Green is that player, But let's be clear, Draymond Green is Tito Jackson on the Golden State Warriors, He's not Michael, He's not the guy. No. He, and he's not even Janet. Draymond Green on this team, you're good, but this team goes as Steph, as KD, as Clay, and 2 of those 3 are either injured or out. So I'm taking Toronto in game 4 and creating, but this is what the people want, and this is what the NBA wants, by the way. Shout out to Adam Silver and his many innovations. Adam Silver with his anti-tanking rules, in terms of the last 3 teams getting the same chance at the lottery. We saw that play out this year with New Orleans getting the #1 pick and Memphis getting the #2 pick.
And the Knicks get screwed.
And the Knicks and the Lakers, getting, and so, we want to see that wealth spread. And the NBA would be thrilled. I'm telling you, thrilled. If the Toronto Raptors were that just shows we have parity in our league. It kind of mirrors what goes on in the NFL, which is one of the reasons the NFL is a great league, because anybody can win any year. You win a Super Bowl.
The Patriots just.
Anybody trade the Patriots, but minus the Patriots, you don't necessarily see one champion winning multiple times, and that just gives so the wealth is spread. And so that would be a great, this is much different than the 2016 championship, whereas many people, myself included, feel the NBA really gave the Cleveland Cavaliers second life by suspending Draymond for being mean to LeBron.
Yeah.
You're mean to LeBron, so you get it, he.
Well, you know how they are with LeBron.
LeBron's
their little buddy.
Now, granted, in game 7, Cleveland balled out. You know, they were down 7 at halftime, you know, and they made shots. J.R. Smith made shots, and once again, Kyrie Irving made the shot, you know, to win. So they won the game 7. But as Draymond plays, you know, I don't think many people don't think it would have got to 7. You know, but this is a situation where Adam Silver doesn't even need to step in. Okay, you have a situation where the champion is on the ropes, and that creates just an outstanding drama, storylines, narrative that, you know, for any concern about the ratings for this finals, I think those concerns have been alleviated. If Toronto being up 2-1 to start with, but if Toronto goes up 3-1, I mean, everyone would be hoping for 7 games, but
So
each
that's
one.
the Warriors, though, who were down 3-1, and
Yes, true.
so I mean,
That's a good point. The Warriors. Now, the Cleveland. But again, Toronto. We wouldn't. The only difference would be somebody from Toronto would have to get suspended.
yeah, we'd
You know,
have to have Adam Silver come down
and,
say,
you know,
Spicy P,
you gotta
stop
go.
being mean to Steph.
Stop
take a game break.
Stop blocking Steph's shots and posting them up. You know, you gotta sit out from one. Okay. Switching subjects quickly. We talked a little bit about hockey. Talked a little bit about basketball. We had a championship bout this weekend. Mr. Andy Ruiz took on Mr. Anthony Joshua, Drew. And going into the fight, it appeared to be a David and Goliath situation.
I mean, if you just look at the two of them,
And
it's
if
hilarious.
you just look at them, and this, I got a chance to see Anthony Joshua and Jalen Jacoby, and he was talking and really just dismissing this fight out of hand. You know, and his thoughts going into the bout were all about Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
You know, and that was where really everyone's eyes were going. This is just a formality, you know, and the real fight that the people wanted to see was Wilder and Joshua. And so we're just going to go ahead and get this out the way. You know, I have to take the fight. Andy Ruiz wasn't even who he was supposed to fight. The guy who was supposed to fight got hurt.
Yeah.
And then the second guy didn't want to fight him, you know. And so this is...
Andy Ruiz like, I'll fight him.
Yeah, this is like a real life Rocky situation.
It's insane.
A real life Rocky situation because, as we all know, and just quickly, the people in Las Vegas who seem to know what's going to happen before it's happened had Anthony Joshua at minus 2,500 going in. So if you put up $2,500, you could win $100. And they had Ruiz at a plus 900. You know,
crazy
you put up
that he
$100. You get $900. Those were the odds going into the fight. We all know what happened. Andy Ruiz knocked him down in the third. Both of them got knocked down. Knocked him down in the third. Stopped him for good in the seventh. And is now the heavyweight champion. Your thoughts?
I think it was a little weak decision. I mean, he was in the corner and the ref was like trying to get him out. I get it.
True,
it was
true.
a little weak.
I agree.
think you could have let him come back.
I
in.
agree.
He didn't seem that dazed, but I mean, he kept saying like, get out of the corner, and he kind of was just still like staying over there. So I mean, I don't know, but it's just hilarious. Anthony Joshua is like one of the top boxing prospects, not even prospects, one of the top young boxers in the entire world.
True.
For this, I mean, Stephen A. Smith called him Butterbean. Zach Mack said it first.
Yeah.
Called him Butterbean.
Yeah.
It literally is just hilarious if you look at the guy and you look at Anthony Joshua. He's carved up. He's a beast, and this guy's just some big. He looks like a he's a Butterbean. It is so good for the sport of boxing. It's awesome. That's what you want, because boxing is very lopsided most of the time. The favorite usually wins. The favorite is usually a favorite by a pretty heavy margin.
True.
It's the best thing for boxing, because Anthony Joshua was counting his chickens before they hatch, ready to fight Deontay Wilder, who I also think is overrated. I think Deontay Wilder's a little overrated as well. But, I mean, it's just the best. When I saw that guy beat him, I couldn't even believe it. And then I said, who the hell is Andy Ruiz?
That's what a lot of people said.
And
you know?
it's great. I love it. It's hilarious and it's awesome. It's great.
You know, we talked briefly. I guess the Celtics are 15-1 next year to win.
15-1.
You know, you're talking about, you know, possibly putting a couple dollars just
Already
based
did,
on those odds. You know,
$100.
and man, I wish, you know, for those people that just looked at those, you know, odds and said, let me just put $50. Let me just put a little bit of money on, you know, because you never know, and you never mind his supporters that really, you know, beforehand, you know, put money on the line for him. Shout out to them. But then this. You make a great point, because in terms of the stoppage, that, you know, it's almost like I remember when Conor McGregor and Floyd and how the referee stopped it, and I thought that fight could have gone longer, and that had to do with you know, for Conor, what he was saying is, listen, coming from the UFC tradition, you know, you really,
out till we're out.
you really have to be in distress
Yeah,
for them to stop
yeah.
the fight. You know, so he was definitely a little dazed, and he was not, you know, but that fight could have certainly gone longer. I thought this fight could have gone longer as well.
For sure.
But the point of fact is, what's different, you know, you know, Conor was definitely tired, you know, and he was a little bit nuts.
gassed.
But with Joshua, what happened is he went to a knee. He was on a knee. Ref's counting. Then he goes to the corner. The ref asked him two times. You can see the ref gesture to him. Are you okay? And Joshua just stood. You know, he just didn't respond.
Yeah.
Then the ref asked him again. And as an official, I like these instances. Like when an official asks you a question, you know, a lot of times this is true. You know, if you're gonna have to give a technical, you have to throw a lightning bolt. You know, and so you go over and you say to the guy, you know, quietly, you know, I don't want to see that happen again. Do you understand me? And you just look at them and you wait for them to respond. You know, and if they don't respond, then any little thing that person does, a lightning bolt's gonna be thrown.
Yeah.
He's getting that tee. You know, and so for the ref, as an official, you know, Joshua's on his knee, the count starts, then Joshua goes to the corner, the official goes over, and twice you can see the official ask him. And that official is saying, are you okay? And so and what Ruiz people said, I think, and what boxing people kind of confirmed is he didn't want to continue. You know,
Yeah.
he could have continued, you know, but in his heart of hearts, he did not. And that there was an extreme reticence for him. That fight could have gone longer, you know, but Anthony Ruiz was probably going to win that fight. And what was evidence to me was you saw Joshua's lack of heart. Yeah, you know, you're looking at him, he's this chiseled Greek god, you know, he just look, you know, it's just, and Anthony Ruiz, you know, he looks like, you know, a former football player that's getting ready to retire from the utility company. You know, he just, you know, he just looks. You know,
I don't know what he looks like, but he doesn't look like someone who is going to take down. Anthony Joshua is like a top 3 boxer in the world right now. It's mind-boggling. But the fact that Ruiz was only plus 900 is, I would have thought he'd be a bigger dog. Maybe, dare I say, maybe it was rigged. I don't know. I don't know. But it is very bizarre, and if it really, sometimes with, like in the Triple G Canelo fight,
yes.
It goes to decision, and you have the 2 scorecards that are almost the same, and then you have that random woman who it's completely like skewed. Sometimes in the boxing world of all the sports, there's a little rigging going on. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true.
Very true.
And I don't want to say that that's what happened this fight. I'm just casting a small doubt that maybe, but no doubt in my mind the Triple G one was rigged. That's
yes, Triple G, particularly the first fight.
The first fight.
That was
got robbed.
a miscarriage of justice.
Robbed.
It was a disgrace.
Disgrace.
Triple G clearly won that bout. I've heard, haven't watched the second fight all the way through. People said that fight was much closer, even though it could have gone either way. The decision went to Canelo. But the first fight was absolute highway robbery.
Horrible.
Triple G clearly won that bout. To that point, again, you know, you always have these interesting, you know, kind of scenarios happening with boxing where a decision will go in one fighter's favor that will make the rematch, which is going to happen, that much more appealing. You know, so I think that's definitely a storyline. But again, from an officiating standpoint, and what I saw happen, you know, that official at least two times, you know, asked Joshua, you know, to whatever the protocol is in boxing. He gave him 2 opportunities to give an affirmative response for the fight to continue. And Anthony Joshua, you know, and this is, you know, against him, you know, he did not, whatever he was supposed to do that all boxers know you have to do, he didn't do it.
No.
He just stood in the corner and was just staring out into the distance. Yeah. You know? And so
Could see it either way.
Again, for a sports person, you want that fight to continue. Had it been UFC, that fight definitely would have continued.
Yeah, for sure.
The referee would have stepped out of the way and they would have battled again until, you know, Ruiz gave him, you know, the full combination and he was going out of the ring. Yeah. Okay, if had it been UFC, you really have to get knocked the heck out for them to stop it, even though it's an extremely safe sport and they go out of their way to promote safety. And they do a great job. I want to make that clear. But they let it go, you know, to that point, and then they step in at that last moment. Whereas in boxing, sometimes, you know, but he did not, you know, Joshua did not show that he wanted to continue. He made a situation where the ref had to make the decision versus him saying, I want to continue.
Yeah,
he put it on the ref, and the ref said, you know, you're not following the protocol, I'm stopping the fight.
Yeah.
It's over.
Seemed a little soft, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
He gave him multiple chances, and he kind of just stared into the.
Stayed off in the distance,
Yeah.
and so he stopped the fight. And great story. I mean,
awesome.
it's just a great story.
That's
A lot of people, say that they're giving up their gym membership.
Yeah.
You know,
Dude, the boy can throw the mittens for a big boy. He can throw them hands.
They said, this the heavyweight, then, I know a lot of people, you get a little bit older, you have that old man strength, and some people now say, I'm good. I'm good with that. A couple other things we want to touch on before we move along. We have to touch on the important points. First of all, the French Open. We're just going to touch on the guys. Shout out to the women as well. We touch on the guys. We got Novak Djokovic. We got Nadal, Rafael Nadal. We got Roger Federer, and we got Thiem in the Final Four.
Pretty much the top
four guys.
They're
They're in the Final Four. How do you feel about this championship?
Well, you got the King of Clay out there, so
Indeed.
he's got to be like probably the bettor's favorite.
Yes.
But I mean, all four of them. Thiem's definitely the youngest, and definitely he's rising up. I don't know. It's tough. I like tennis because it's all four of those guys are like the best of their craft. So I mean, I'm gonna pick. If I have to pick out of those four, I'm going Djokovic. I think that he's kind of like the other two, Federer and Nadal, are like kind of right outside their prime, but I feel like he's like right in his prime, and I don't know. It's pretty much a coin flip between all of them. Even though Nadal is the king of clay, he's got to lose one eventually. He's not getting any younger. Federer is really not getting any younger. So it could be any of them, really.
Djokovic, I like that pick. I'm going to take Nadal, the king of clay. This is his home turf, and I see him getting it done. We also have to give a quick shout out at the end. We're going to discuss this more going forward. The Women's World Cup. The Americans are the favorites at 7-4. Next is France at 7-2. Germany 11-2. England at 7-1. Do you see the American women getting it done?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm clearly biased. I'm American, but also they're always just in the mix in women's soccer. Unlike the men.
I'm taking the Americans as well. I see the good people in the studio. Folks, that's going to do it. Go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe as you feel the need. I am your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King. We're very happy to have Drew Pops continually here in the building. We appreciate it. Tune in to SandCity Sports, and we will see you here back again the next time.
Yes, a piece of souls do sedate ourselves. Just in the bars, pain we feel. Yes, at times we do hate ourselves, but each day we try to retake ourselves. So yes, a piece of souls do sedate ourselves. Just in the bars, pain we feel. Yes, at times we do hate ourselves, but each day we try to embrace ourselves. Yeah.